What's going on YouTube? It's 25 January 2026. Snowmageddon is gripping the United States, and here in central Georgia, we're just going to get some rain. So life is good, I guess. So a little bit about me, real quick. Retiring from the Army, trying to find a job. Nobody wants my cool skills. So I was lifting Friday morning, and as usually happens when you work out, a great idea. All of a sudden, there was a GFI popped into my head. Hey, stage planning is hard. But the Army has all these planning systems, and so I decided to make a video overlaying METT-TC with stage planning. Now, if you're a experienced shooter, been doing this for a couple of years, this video probably not for you per se, not going to help you stage plan better. But if you're a newer shooter, specifically coming from the Army or the Marine Corps, who both use METT-TC, this is a way to look at stages and develop a plan. And this is a two-part video. I'm going to run through METT-TC real quick on this one. Then I'm going to make a second video using OCOC and West Virginia TCP to specifically dive into figuring out the stage itself and then the effects of weather on stage. Right. So if you're in the Army or you're Marine Corps and you're planning this, you've already done your weather analysis probably when you're doing this. But METT-TC is very simply is a way we teach small units to receive a mission and then to analyze the mission to begin course of action development. And you'll kind of see that here in a little bit. There's a little bit of course of action in stage planning, but a lot of times once you've done this, there's a way. And if you go to a match and you watch the top level shooters, you'll realize that most of them are going to shoot it the same way or very similar. Maybe one stage out of a 10 plus stage match will you have different stage plans among top shooters. All right. And for those of you that maybe just stumbled on this and you're helping somebody out, real quick. So METT-TC, the M is mission, the E is enemy, first T is time, then troops, then terrain, and then civil considerations. Again, terrain, I'll touch on it briefly in this, but I'm going to have a part 2 to this where I deep dive into terrain and we use some more graphic aids. There'll be some graphic aids in this. Okay, so to get going here, why is this important? Why is stage planning important? Number one is confidence. You need confidence in your stage plan. That is probably one of the most important parts of shooting. If you can have confidence when you get the make ready command that you know your stage plan and that your stage plan is good, life is going to be good and you're much likely to shoot to your potential. Number two is safety. Making sure you understand the safety of the range. You've thought about stuff. You understand the safety requirements of the range. For whatever reason, there are some weird safety rules in some competitive shooting. For the most part, it's no different and sometimes more lax than a military range you're going to be on, because instead of having range fans, you're going to have a 180 once you start playing the game. The number three thing is shooting skill versus the game. There's a lot of, oh, it's the game. And if you're in the military, you'll hear, oh, it's a ranges during a live fire. Get past that and don't worry about your shooting skill when you're playing the game. And I 100% believe it's a game. It's not meant to be combat, but there are a lot of good things that can come out of this for a police officer or a military member whose job is to close with and destroy the enemy. Like I said, this is not for combat, all right? It is kind of cool, though, if you think about the live fire progress inside the military. You do dry fire, you do blank fire, and then you do live fire. Well, this essentially takes you straight from dry to live in a match, right? You skip the blank fire, your rehearsals are all dry, you get some walkthroughs, and then you get mental rehearsals, and then it's go. So if you kind of compare it to military live fire methodology, it is pretty similar. But I digress. Okay, mission. Your mission is going to be in your stage brief. I'm going to put some different stage briefs in here to show you some examples. I got one pulled up over here. It's a shotgun stage brief, but I'm going to talk a lot of 3-gun because it's the most complicated. Your stage brief is where your mission statement is, same as your mission statement. It's where you're going to pull a lot of key details out of. And just like a mission statement, you can receive it orally, you can receive it written, and you can receive it electronically. Orally, you should, every time you walk up to a stage, somebody should be grabbing the stage brief and reading the stage brief. If you're shooting a really friendly local one, maybe that does level one, maybe that doesn't happen as much. But if you go to any higher level matches or a professionally run local match, you will get that. You can also, a lot of times they'll get emailed out ahead of time for major matches. You can go pull them off practice score, or they'll get posted on some kind of social media. And if they're posted on social media, technically that's the electronic delivery where you can start to look at them. You cannot build a full stage plan off of a electronic or off of any of this, but it's the initial receipt of mission, i.e. the stage plan. The key parts, number one is the type of course. Using USPSA, is it a Virginia count or is it a Comstock course? If you're shooting 3-gun, which guns are used? Is it a pistol and shotgun only? Is it rifle shotgun? Is it all 3 guns? It's going to give you the start point. The start position, that is key. I've done it myself where I look at a stage and I make a stage plan and then I realize I stage planned it from back to front, but the start position's in the front. Now I've got to dump that stage plan and rebuild a stage plan front to back. That's wasted effort and wasted momentum, and it's just confusion in your brain on what's going on. So start position should be in there. Mandatory engagement areas. Not so much a USPSA game, but maybe. A lot of times when you start including steel, you have mandatory engagement areas, and then you'll see it a lot in 3-gun with slugs and stuff. You must shoot slug target X from box A, right? Or same thing with rifle targets, stuff like that, just to make sure that your minimum safe distances on steel are there. USPSA rules are supposed to get around that, but that you will still get some of that in short courses from time to time. You'll also get mandatory reloads, and then feeding into the E for enemy, you're going to get the number of targets by type. All right, so again, not training for combat, but you're shooting at stuff and things, so you can think of them as enemy. Many of them are humanoid in shape. All right, so going straight from mission, we've got all those details. Now we're going, bam, right down to the enemy. All right, so we've now, because we just received our mission, we know the number by type. We're going to have 15 paper and 5 steel. Hang on here. So Loader's Paradise is a 23-round birdshot, 105-point Comstock long course, 21 steel targets, and 2 clays. Steel must fall to score. Clays must break to score, right? Boom. That told you exactly what's going on. It's Comstock, 21 steel cores, 2 slays. You got to use clays. You got to use birdshot, stuff like that. The next sentence was start positions, both heels on rear fault line, facing downrange, shotgun in the ready condition, completely unloaded, magazine inserted, no magazine inserted or rounds in tube. All right, so it's an unloaded start. All right, so those are very important things. And if you get this ahead of time, like a week out, 2 weeks out, you can start your rehearsals just like you can do the troop leading procedures, which we're not going to get into today. But you can start rehearsals, i.e. I've got unloaded starts in this, so maybe I need to practice unloaded start because that's not in my normal weekly dry fire routine. Or I've got, this one is a no mag inserted, so I need to load that. Sometimes you'll have mag inserted on an empty chamber, or you'll have fully loaded, you'll have table starts, all kinds of different things. Joe Farewell just put something online a couple weeks ago about that. It was a unloaded start to a weekend, right? Something nobody's going to dry fire on a regular basis because it's so rare. But if you get the stage briefs ahead of time, you can identify that and you can rehearse that ahead of time in your dry fire. On the enemy piece, it is good to walk the stage and identify all of those targets. Everybody has done it. You RO a stage, you'll realize there's always going to be targets hidden out there or targets that have to be shot from certain positions. We'll cover that in the second half of this when we're talking terrain. But identifying all that stuff's going on. Other things to talk about, scoring zones. So this is most of these are games are a points divided by time type of scenario. So you need to understand scoring zones, understand that where a 5-point hit is versus a 3-point hit versus a 1-point hit. And or is it a steal and it's all a 5-point hit, so anything matters. Steel must fall, clay must break, things like that. What happens if the steel turns 90 degrees? Do I have to keep engaging it? Can I not engage it? These are all things you need to understand about the game you're playing. Like I said, locations if known. The only game I know of that regularly keeps targets hidden from you is NRL, right? So those are all blind stages. Blind stages, you hear about them sometimes, but they're not super common in the game. I'm not sure about IDPA. Caveat to this is if you're shooting an IPSC match, there's no pre-walking like there is in many of the U.S. sports. They're an IPSC match. You're only going to have a certain amount of time, the next T, right? So we've gone mission, we've gone enemy, now we're going to time. So things to consider. Number one, is there a par time for this? If this is helpful for you, you're probably a newer shooter, which means par times are going to matter for you. My first couple 3-gun matches, I think I par-timed out of most of the stages. It just is what it is. Don't feel bad. You'll get there eventually. There are people that have been shooting for 4 or 5 years, maybe a little older, maybe a little less mobile. Their goal at major matches is just to not to part-time out and to shoot at all the targets. All right. So this is a fun sport. Go play it your way and have your goals. But is there a part-time, and does that matter in my sport? How does that matter in my sport? If you're shooting PRS, it's not points divided by time. It's only points. It's only I have to hit each target, and I get 1 point for each target I hit, and that's all there is as long as I engage them in the time. Last thing is planning time. All right, planning time is interesting, and if you've been around the military, you've heard of the 1/3, 2/3 rule, and I think this plays well into the shooting sports. The 1/3, 2/3 rule means I'm going to use 1/3 of my time for planning and 2/3 of my time for subordinates and rehearsals. You have no subordinates, you are shooting. So your 2/3 of your time is walkthroughs and mental rehearsals. So along with time, where are you in the shooting order? Are you the first, second, third shooter, which means you've got less time to do mental rehearsals, which means you need to figure out a stage plan quick and then just start rehearsing it? Or are you at the bottom of the shooting order where you can spend the entire 3, 4, 5 minutes doing walkthroughs, and then you've got 10 people ahead of you to do mental rehearsals in between pasting targets? All right, but understand your time, understand where you are in the shooting order, and understand how time is used in the game that you are playing. All right, I'm trying to talk fast, and I'm still already over 10 minutes. The next T, troops available. All right, troops available is you and your firearms. All right. Instead of doing a composition, disposition, and strength like we didn't do for enemy, troops is how do you feel? Are you tired? Do you have a knee injury? Do you have an ankle injury? Does your back hurt? What are your skills? Can you shoot the shots that are required for the course? Yes, you might be able to shoot a 25. There might be a 25-yard tuxedo that's available at 25 yards, or you can shoot it from the front at 10. If you're a newer shooter, you probably want to shoot that from 10 yards, whereas your GMs might be taking it from 25 to eliminate a position or to get rid of a weird transition, right? Closer is usually better in this sport, but there are times when it makes sense to take a longer shot to remove a position. Okay, so understand that about you. Do you have movement issues? Do you suck at leans? I have videos up about me sucking at leans. I will often, it's a confidence thing, I will often add a position or maybe change positions where everybody else is shooting something from a lean. I don't like it, so I'll take the targets from somewhere else to eliminate a lean if possible. 2 things to go back. Weak hand, strong hand, right? A current trend in USPSA is last 3 targets must be shot weak hand, right? Targets of your choice. Are those in the course? And if they are, what are your capabilities with weak hand, strong hand? And then last 2 things, again, these were in the mission statement, but you should be confirming them. Gun conditions and start positions, okay? Again, 1-gun sport's pretty easy. It's either going to be a fully loaded start in the holster or in the ready condition. It's going to be mag inserted on an empty chamber, or it's going to be a unloaded start either in the holster, in hands, or placed on an object, right? So that's kind of it. Now, when you get into 3-gun, you're going to have guns staged wherever you want. Sometimes there might be mandatory staging. There might not be mandatory staging. You might have a rifle slung on your back. You don't see a lot of shotguns slung, but I think I've done it once in 5 years. But it is a thing where on occasion you'll have to sling a shotgun. And if you're slinging it, it's probably either fully unloaded or magazine inserted on an empty chamber. And why does that matter? Well, that matters in your rehearsal so that you know that when you bring that firearm up, you need to charge the weapon. But that's kind of troops available. Think about yourself. How do you feel? What are difficult shots for you? And then do you have movement issues? Stuff like that. All right, terrain. Again, we're going to talk terrain in a separate video, or this would be an hour long. Observation, avenues of approach, key terrain. I said observation, obstacles, and then cover and concealment. And then for the weather considerations, I grew up on West Virginia TCP. They teach it different now. Winds, visibility, temperatures, cloud cover, and precipitation. The things your app gives you, but things you should consider in shooting. All right, so the last thing on here is C in civil considerations, and I kind of thought about this one a little bit. So civil considerations in the military, we have other acronyms we go into just like we have for terrain. The one thing I want to pull out of there is structures, right? So stage construction, and specifically understanding, are the walls in bounds or out of bounds? Are the walls sturdy? Can I brace off? Can I brace off? Can versus should. Can I brace off of a wall? Should I brace off of this wall? That is a match director game, as I'm going to put something out there for you to brace off of on a 15-yard wide open target, knowing darn good well you don't need to, but I'm going to put it out there just so you'll want to. Same thing if you see VTACs, barricades, whatever. If you are allowed to go touch that obstacle, go see how sturdy it is. PRS, I think during the match you're not allowed to interact with the obstacles until it's your time to shoot. Some PRS matches will let you come out the day prior and for a fee let you shoot off of the barricades, so you kind of get the feel for it. Range specific rules. I think the most obviously you need to understand the game you're playing, safety zones, things like that. But the highest profile one of these lately was PCC Nationals this last year, or no, excuse me, PCC Worlds this last year. The shooters could not. The barrels could not go above the top of the berm with a loaded gun, which is really an odd thing, kind of an odd thing. It's not a rule anywhere else. Normally, if your barrel goes above the berm, it's just on you not to put a round over the berm. But for whatever reason, wherever I think they were in the Czech Republic, you were not allowed to point one over the berm or they could DQ you, right? So that was a range-specific rule. You will get that some throughout the shooting sports as you move around with range-specific rules. Some ranges are a little more lax on stuff. Some ranges are a little more, stringent on their rules. Specifically when it comes to bagging and unbagging, things like that. Some, again, do what you need to do. And the last thing on the civil considerations, I will go back to the rules and understand the range commands and understand unload and show clear procedures. The last 2 locals ago I shot, we should have DQ'd a guy. It was his second match ever, because he broke the 180 during unload and show clear. Now the reality was he didn't point the gun at somebody, so we scolded him and we let him keep shooting because he acknowledged it and was sorry that he did it, and he was like, oh my God. But if you're going to end up, it's just something that's in the back of your brain. If you're going to end up close to a 180, take a breath, square yourself up on the range, and then start your unload and show clear. And then also obviously understand the range commands that you're going to be given and what they mean, and hopefully they're following the range commands for their sport. Okay, so that's a quick breakdown of a way to look at stage planning using Army military planning of METT-TC. Like I said, I'm going to go into a second video where we specifically break down the stage using OCOC, and we'll talk weather conditions at the end of that real quick. Not a big deal. All right, YouTube, we'll check you here in a little bit. Bye.